Okay, welcome to part 4. We're going to create trails now, but before that, again, one more time, I forgot something. So let's get into the shockwave source and get inside the popnet here. And where is it? Birth. I forgot to add the seed that is from the outside. So let's copy the seed from our controls panel and paste it here. And we're going to say press 1, 2, 3, 4. Something like that. Okay, good. That's all set up now. Let's start building trails. Let's create a geometry. Let's call this Trails SRC. And let's dive inside. Create a sphere. Everything starts with a sphere. Good, huh? Polygon, increase the frequency and bring the radius down to 0.5. And let's create a normal. Make this point normal. So that one, there you go. And I'm going to create a mountain. I'm going to change the height to 10. Maybe I'll zoom in a little bit. Get rid of that. Okay, good. Element size, I want it really small. Yeah, something like that. That's pretty good. And I'm going to type in $F for the time here. So hopefully, yeah, that's right. That's what I wanted. And I'm going to leave the rest of them as they are. And then I'm going to clip it like that. Let's enable that. Okay, I'm going to clip that, clip the bottom, and I'm going to transform, not soft transform, transform this to 0.1, really small. Okay. So the flares start from the origin, basically. I'm going to create a point wrangle. We're going to connect the input here. And I'm going to say initialize V. I don't like this normal going downwards, so I'm just going to say at n.y equals absolute at n.y. Everything goes up, okay? I'm going to say v at v equals v at n multiplied by channel float velocity multiplier. Okay. So then I'll click on that. We got this little velocity multiplier. I'm just going to multiply that to 100. Okay, and then I'm going to create a pop network. Whoa. Let's pull back. Okay, good. And I'm going to go into one of these things and copy that ground plane. Paste it here. Create a merge. Connect that, and connect this here. Press L, H, that's good. And create a gravity force right here. Again, LH. Let's select the source. And nothing to change here. Go to birth. I'm going to bring that down to 0. And activation. I want this to start the frame after the flares frame, which is 5, and this one's 6. And let's reduce the constant birth rate to 500. We don't want too many of the trails because it'll just look awkward. And while I'm here, I might as well copy the seed and paste it here before I forget. but plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just increasing one number at the end. Okay. All right. And I want the expectancy to be 4 and 3.5. I want to let it go all the way, and maybe some of them will drop on the ground. Okay, maybe. I'm going to change the jitter birth to negative and leave interpolation or interpolate source to none. Let's go into attributes. Let's just have a look at how that looks right now. All right, so that's going like that. That's not very good. Let's add a pop drag, and I'm gonna reduce this to 0.3, and let's have a look at it now. Yeah, that's way too small. So I'm going to increase the velocity to, let's say, 4 here. Yeah, somewhat like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a brand new node that I have never used so far. So that's called pop property. I'm going to enable mass and use vexpression, which is slightly different to vex, I think. But anyway, the way you write code here is you just type in mass, not at mass. If you type in at mass, it won't work. So it's just mass. And if you want to know the attribute name, you just hover the pointer over here. It'll tell you. It says parameter mass, and it's the same for this and this, etc. Okay. So what I'm going to do is multiply equal to, which is 1 multiply by, I'm going to say random at pt num. This is not going to be very good, but we will try it out. I'm going to uncheck ignore mass, okay? Yeah, that's good, but do you see that? That happened right there. You see this? This is stopping in midair. There, right there. And that's because its mass is too low. Okay, we can't allow that to happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in a fit 0, 1, and we're going to say, because a random function will return a value between 0 to 1. Okay, so we're going to say fit 0, 1, comma 0.5 to 2. That way, the minimum it can have is 0.5. Okay? Come on. Now, let's check it out. Yeah, it's falling down, but falling down a little slower than I expected. So, maybe I'll change this to 1 to 2. It's just to give it a little bit of variation, okay? It's not much, really. And I don't want bounce. I think bounce is bad. So, you know what? I'm going to leave it. I'm going to go into pop property. And I'm going to check bounce. And bounce has the parameter name is bounce as well. I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to paste it. Just change this to bounce. But I'm going to add a little number here so that it's slightly different from mass values. And I'm going to say bounce will be 0 to 0.2. You don't want too much of that, okay? While I'm here, I also notice if you go into Dynamics tab, you have drag right here. So you can enable this drag and again do the same thing. This is a fantastic thing to do because it gives you so much variation. It's ridiculous. So drag multiply equal to, again the same thing, but I'm gonna just increase this, I don't know, number by 1, and I'm gonna say let's say drag should be between 0.6 to 1.6. All right, let's look at that. See, I love that because if you notice that this is going so far out, and it's fantastic, and that's what you want. Some of these bounce and some of these don't, also, if you notice. And some of them are moving forward. So we can control that as well by using this bounce forward. Okay. So its parameter is bounce forward. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to copy this bounce and I'm going to say, oops, and enter, come on, enter, paste it, and I'm going to say bounce forward multiply equal to the same thing, but this time I'm going to change this number to 14, and I'm going to say 0 to 0.2 also. Not much, but just a little bit of difference, a little bit of variation. See, now they're not moving forward, so maybe that is not that good. I'm going to change this to 1. Oh, I should have just left it. Oops. Yeah, that's not moving forward at all. Alright, so let's change this to 0.5 to 1. Yeah, now you saw a little bit of movement, which is good, That's all I want. Very subtle change. So that's looking good. So I think I'm done here. Okay, so as usual, we're gonna put down a trail node and we're gonna increase the length to 8, and it'll be useful if we can get that. Alright, good. I forgot, I only want pop object here. Alright, good. And I'm gonna create an add node and delete geometry, and then by group, change it by attribute and ID. So it creates this beautiful thing right here. And then let's put in a resample node. And I'm going to leave it at that. This time I am not going to check resample by polygon edge. Okay, I'm going to leave it, but I do want to activate the curve U attribute. It may come in handy. I mean, I usually do that anyway, so I guess sorry. To be honest, right now we do need it because we are going to use the same jitter scale thing. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that from Flare. I think it was Flare. Oh no, don't do that. Flare has that jitter scale and jitter noise. I'm just going to copy these two nodes and paste it here. So why do it again? There's no point. There you go. Alright, looking good. That doesn't look very nice. So what I want to do then is I want to reduce this, okay? Maybe the frequency is too much. Let me just go in and check. Yeah, that's right. So revert to default. There you go, that's better. So it goes like that. Boom. Pretty cool, right? Yeah. Sweet. All right, great stuff. And I'm just going to set it back to camera. Okay, I'm going to create a Polywire node this time. Every setup is slightly different to another. This way you can learn all the techniques that I have in my bag. Okay. I'm going to change the wire radius to 0.02 because I don't want it too much. And then I'm going to create a normal again, just to give it a little bit of normal. I don't know, I cannot see anything. So I'm going to change the display again to dark mode. So there you go, something like that. And then I'm going to create a point triangle, and I'm going to say f at temperature equals 1. I'm initializing temperature, and f at speed equals length at v. Length at v will give you a float value out of vector. Okay, so if I were to say speed, there you go. So let's see, what is the maximum speed? Yeah, maximum speed is 400 and the lowest is 54. No, lowest is probably 0, but maximum speed is, yeah, 400. Okay, good. All right. And then I'm also gonna just say CD equals at curve U, because we have a 0 to 1 value. There you go. That looks pretty cool. If I were to disable that, you're not gonna see that. Okay, so that looks nice. As I said before, this gives you a number of possibilities that you can play with this. I mean, you can create abstract art, I guess, you know, so many ways, because you can actually use this width or wire radius. You can create a jitter scale just like that for your width and pump that in here. Let's say if I were to put in jit scale, there you go. You see what I'm saying? I mean, it's too big, but let me just pull this out and change this a little bit. You'll see what I mean shortly. There. There is no normal, so there's the normal now. So you can create various things with this. It's incredible. Anyway, I'm gonna get rid of that and connect this back in. I'm going to change this wire radius to 0.02 again. I just want it the same across the board. No changes there. So we've now got speed and temperature. I just want to bring these two parameters right here. So temperature is 1 across the board. However, I don't want that. So I only want the temperature to be high, let's say 1, right at the edges, okay, where curve U is supposedly 0. Okay, so, and I also don't want too much of temperature if it is slowing down. So in effect, what I'm saying is I want to multiply the temperature by speed, but inverse multiply the temperature by the curve U attribute. Okay, I hope you get it. I'm going to do it now. Point bop, and let's dive inside, and we're going to bring in the 3 parameters that we know we need. Oops. One is temperature, and the other, the second one, come on, is curve U, and then we need another one which is speed. Okay, right, we got all 3 now. So this is what we want out. Okay, so in effect we want a bind export, but we only want it for temperature. So what we're going to do is we're going to connect that temperature straight into this one for now. And now what we can do is we can multiply that temperature with speed. So let's put in a multiply with speed. And we will also connect this to, let's say, CD, just to visualize it. Yeah, everything is 1 because, yeah, that's how it is. Okay, and then we're going to invert. What's coming in? Let's see, not invert, maybe it's called complement. Yeah, So we want the complement of curve view to be multiplied by that. Suddenly you'll see maybe zeros here. Yeah, there you go. Maybe you can't, I don't know. All right, we'll see shortly. Anyway, all right. Now what I want to do is, we know the temperature that is coming in ranges between 0 and 400. So I'm going to put in a fit range, and I'm going to connect that here and connect this to the CD. Okay, right here. And I'm going to say 0 and 400 is the source max, and 0 and 1 is the destination minimum and maximum. That way we got that, right? I don't know if you can see it very well, but what are we getting temperature wise? Temperature 0 and 0.16. So what we're going to do is, maybe we can put in another fit range, and we're going to say, so what's coming in is 0 to 0.16, and we want it between 0 and 1. Okay, so that way we've got this. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, good. So that's what I created that for. I'm also going to copy these 3 elements here, and I keep copying this add noise, which we've disabled. I'm copying it just in case if we need it or something. Okay, that's all. All right, so create fuel, create temperature, all of that is here, but I'm going to get rid of the velocity and I'm going to get rid of the fuel. I only want temperature. Okay, so I'm just going to pull the scale down back to 1, and in rasterize, all I'm going to do is rasterize temperature, nothing else. Okay, so that way it's pretty good. Maybe I should leave the velocity blur. Yeah, I'll leave it in for now, and we'll decide later if we don't want it or want it. You know, I'm just going to double check that. All right, so first of all, some of these things are not named correctly. Initialize temp, and then noise up temp, then create fuel, rasterize. Okay, good. So I'm just gonna go inside, go in here. I'm just gonna have a look at this. At 400, it's got a temperature of 0, which is not what I wanted. We'll look at how this goes and we'll take it from there. Trail source is now done. Let's move into Pyrosim. So I'm going to copy one of these flare ones. Actually, no, that's a bad idea. I think I'm just going to copy this shockwave and connect it here. And I'm going to call this Trails SRC. This time, I will also change this from SW-SRC to Trails SRC. And it's called Out Flares. Come on. I'll call this Out Trails. Okay, good. And yeah, that's automatically changed. At this time, the source volume, we don't have a fuel, we only have temperature. So we're going to drive temperature, we're going to drive fuel using temperature, okay? And we're going to copy that only, and I'm going to reset the scale back to 1. We don't want to add it, we just want to copy it and get rid of the velocity. And it's the same with temperature, we just want to add the temperature to temperature, because we are getting temperature. All right, good. Okay, so it's finished it, and this is how it looks. So I can't really say there is a lot of fuel and temperature in there. There is a little bit, but not much. So maybe we want to increase that. Okay, so if I go back into Pyrosim maybe I can increase this to, let's make it extreme, okay? Let's pump it up to 10, and let's see how that looks. Yep, you can see that is actually working because these are our trails. Okay, obviously it's too much. Yeah, it's definitely too much. Okay, which I expected. I'm just going to drop this down to 2. Okay, maybe I should just increase the, let me add the fuel, because that wasn't really working very well. Okay, so it's done now with add operation. I'll show you something. And this is why operation is so important. Okay, so watch this streak right here. When that comes, it continues to add more. You see that? It continues to add more like that. That may be what you're looking for, but in our case, I'm definitely not looking for that. Okay, so I'm going to kill that. I'm going to go and say copy only, and I'm going to maybe increase the fuel to 4 instead of 2. Okay, so it's working slightly, but not as I expected. And also I identified another problem. This is just too small. Okay, so I'm just going to pull this out a little bit. God damn it. Escape, save, and let's run it again. Okay, so we got something here. I'm gonna run it. Okay, so that's how it looks right now. It's not what I wanted really, but it's something. The trails are working, as you can see. It's definitely different to the flares we created earlier. The way the colors are is not what I intended, okay? So we're going to change that at a later time. So for now, the trails are pretty much there. So I'm going to put this back to fuel back to 2 and the temperature back temperature to 1 so that it's not too much, okay? I'm going to reduce the division, I'm going to reduce the resolution because it's taking way too long. Maybe we'll need to add some noise. I don't know yet, but that's okay. So far it looks good. We will do some adjustments later and refining or fine-tuning at the end. Okay, so for now, this is trails, and trails are done. So let's see here. That's looking good. Let me just get rid of this because of that little plus sign that was coming up. There you go. Boom. Alright, looks good so far. We will now move on to part number 4 or 5. I lost track. I think it's part number 5, which is going to be flash lines source. Okay? I'll explain what that means shortly.